made it to Chirohustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channel and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, and Prime Spine Consulting. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 328 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your co-host, Luke Millette, and here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Johannsen, and if you want to see how you can get loan forgiveness as a doctor, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. This is episode number 328. I have a good friend of mine here, Dr. Johannsen. Before we jump into this episode, I do want to set some ground rules for you guys to know where we stand. We do protect free speech in this beautiful profession of chiropractic. We do support subluxation-based chiropractic, innate intelligence, universal intelligence, the connection between man, the spiritual, and man, the physical. And we do support and protect the sacred trust. If you guys don't know what any of that means, go use your Google fingers or your DuckDuckGo and go over there and do some searching for subluxation, vitalism, innate intelligence, things like that. Freedom of speech too. You guys might want to do that quick search too, so you know what we have on the hook to lose if we don't support our rights here in this nation. So with that being said, Dr. J, welcome to Chiro Hustle.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for having me today.
I feel like we just had like a little fireside chat in the afternoon.
I tell you, it is one that conversations are good, man, when you have people who are in the same like-minded, mental emotional tone state. It's great because then it just basically brings things up. And like we were just talking about this, like I had a kind of a rough morning and stuff, and the rain falls equally on the fortunate and unfortunate. So the conversation we had before fireside helped bring me back to who I am, who I want to be, or at least get closer. So thanks, man, for spending a little bit extra time getting me there. Yeah,
it was meditation through conversation. And I think that we have to, I said one of the analogous things that I like to, I've been listening to a lot of people. Yeah. And one of the things that I've realized is that most people are trying to run their engine with the wrong type of fuel. And most people are trying to survive off of running their engine off of sand.
Yeah. Yeah, sand don't run engines, man.
But that's the information that most people are getting. So I want to change that course with you today, and I want to talk about things that are important to the development and future of our planet, like chiropractic. I want to talk about what inspires people from a vitalistic standpoint of keeping themselves healthy and purveying that to people around them, which is information. Information through media resources like Chiro Hustle, which I think is so valuable as we've been around, like you said, how long? 4 years, 328 episodes, which you are today. And, one of these things that really fires me up is the story behind the chiropractor. Mm-hmm. And I know that yours is unique to you and your friends, your family, your colleagues, your practice members, your coworkers, people you went to school with, they're going to listen to this episode. And yeah. it's gonna reignite some relationships for you, I'm sure, and it's gonna inspire some people. I hope so as well. But before I ask you the question, I just want to say a big shout out to Dr. Fred DiDomenico for bringing us together in the same room to where Dr. J and I could rekindle our relationship with each other, and I could get a chance to say, hey, why don't we do a Chiro Hustle? So thank you, Dr. Fred.
Thanks, Fred. You're awesome,
man. And with that, your chiropractic story, I got a chance to reconvene with you down in Austin, Texas, and you were telling me about community healthcare resource that you've created. So let's talk about that, but let's talk before we get to that one specific thing. Tell people how you got into chiropractic.
I was born into it, man. I was born in Davenport, Iowa in 1973, and within a couple weeks before I was even a month old, I was adjusted. My family's chiropractic family primarily. I mean, they were still kind of, straddling the fence one way and the other. And it took a little while. It took a generation before we really decided you can't sit on the fence. But my mom and dad, they took me to Virgil Strang, and many of you guys know who Virgil is if you went to Palmer, especially. He's like the king of philosophy. He was my chiropractor. Like, they didn't take me to the doctor when I was a kid. They took me there. If I had a fever or something, they'd throw me in the car. He'd adjust me, fever would break. I'm healthy, So my chiropractic story started there. But where I figured out and discovered I was a chiropractor wasn't until I got sick, and I would go to the chiropractor for just about anything, man. You have a headache, you have this or that, symptomatic treatment. So I still really, allopathically mindseted in that, but I knew it worked for me. And then around about 17 years of age, I thought I was smarter than everybody else, and I left home, man. So I lived out of my car. I got sick. I didn't have money. I didn't go to the chiropractor. Went to ER, started taking antibiotics, getting sicker and sicker. And then it basically, wasn't a healthy lifestyle. I didn't understand why I was getting sick all the time. And before that, as a kid, I never got sick. And then basically I was doing some martial arts and stuff, and I got cranked on pretty good, got my neck cranked, and I was stiff, got clocked. And so I went to a chiropractor locally again. And that's a shout out to Linda Anderson on Division Street in Davenport, Iowa, practices in Geo Schmidl's old office, which probably still looks like it's from 1965. But she fixed me. And so I was sitting there and I was taking undergrad classes, and I knew I wanted to take care of people. I knew I wanted to help. I wanted to make an impact. I knew that I wanted to be, a doctor. I just didn't know what or how. So, I kind of like volunteered, went to the VA, realized, man, that game's not for me. I don't want to do that. And so I went and basically took a class in massage therapy. I was kind of chasing this girl, to be honest. I'm a guy, I was 20, and fell in love, man, not with her, with massage and helping people. Cause I realized, wow, you know what, I can do this. I can actually use skills, help people. They feel better going out. They're not relying on drugs or surgery or things, and they get lead a better life. And I can make a living off of that. And that's good. Cause at the time I was really struggling. I lived out of a car for like 6 months, homeless for all intents and purpose. Shout out to all my friends here in Davenport. If you let me sleep on your couch or take a shower. All right. I didn't waste it. I actually took care of myself and did something. So that's a good one. And then I worked for a chiropractor, Mark Bergthold, on Kimberly Road in Bettendorf, Iowa, as a massage therapist. And I saw things getting better. Like, he would adjust kids, he would adjust other people, and it reconnected me with, like, okay, wow, you know what? That's why I didn't get sick as a kid. I had chiropractic, and when I was under his care, I stopped getting sick. The things that really changed my life, though, at the time, I had been taking antibiotics for like sinus infections and crap like that. And we all know, people can get led away from the flock. I ended up with a gut disorder, had a couple injuries, got a compression fracture in my mid thoracics, and started developing gut problems. So I always tried and kind of like hoped I would be a professional bike racer. So basically, I never really won much. It was like a struggle just to keep up. And that's why I was the manager of our local team and stuff. But the reason is that I could never keep muscle mass on. I was always losing muscle. My gut didn't work. I couldn't absorb things. I always had stomach pain, reflux. And then when I got into Palmer, a woman, and this is out to Elaine Doyle, if you hear me out there anywhere, thank you. She did adjustment, upper cervical, nuca, and my stomach settled down to the point where I could eat again. And like literally, I was in fourth try. And from December at my sister's birthday, the 10th, to January 17th, my birthday, I lost 25 pounds, man. I couldn't eat anything. I thought I had a tumor, thought I had cancer or something because the pain was so bad. And really, it was just autonomic nervous system dysfunction because I had a kyphosis and a translation of smashing nerves. Well, she helped me out. I could get to the point where I could put some muscle back on. And that year, I started actually doing good at racing. I won a couple races. I won state championships in Iowa. And I was like, okay, man, I'm not weak. I'm not broke. There's just something wrong with this. And I started to believe. And then I saw it happen with other people. Just one miracle, the first one that I saw that really was like, okay, hey, man, I'm thinking too small. And that was a kid came into the clinics and she had like stitches under her chin all over, man. This girl had been having seizures, dropping, boom, clocking herself. And it wasn't my patient. It was one of the other guys doing upper cervical, adjusted her. And she was having like 15 or 20 seizures a day, like full on out tonic-clonic stuff. And she went down in that first day to like one seizure. And it was like a miracle. And they drove from like Ohio. So from there on, I was like, okay, upper cervical. Now that's kind of how I got into it. And then when I got into, and everybody does this, you get up into upper tries and stuff and you get disillusioned because this doesn't match that. They're like, above, down, inside out. And then it's like, no, this is all pain based. You got to follow this model. And it's like, wait a minute, it didn't make sense. So I got lost. Everybody does, and that's why I don't fault patients who fall off. So that's how I got here, basically. I really didn't, though, understand fully global subluxation until I fixed my posture, the kyphosis, because I would get adjusted all the time. Stomach problems did come back as I was working, and it was not friendly. It cost me some of the best relationships in my life because I didn't feel good. And no matter how much I got adjusted, it didn't settle it down until one day, thanks Jen Aranda. She's a chiropractor out in Boise, worked for Harrison's out there for a while. And she took me to Chicago to a Chiro 1 office, and Clinton Garda, thanks, man. He was blunt, and he told me, he's like, you have a kyphosis, do or die. You got to fix it. And I was like, okay. Got any research behind that? And he delivered, and I changed it. So I went through traction. I went through, CBP protocols, and that was when I was 40. My life sucked. I mean, honestly, I was grumpy. I wasn't friendly. I just wasn't living a chiropractic lifestyle. And I had busy practice, man. I had 3 practices running at the time, 1 in Illinois, 2 in Iowa, staff of 20, booked out 3 weeks doing a chiropractic massage model thing. And it just got harder and harder to go into work. It just got harder because I knew, like, I would watch people and like, they're going downhill. So when I found this and I fixed myself, I basically, due to the stomach problems at that point, I already had leaky gut syndrome, had lupus. I lost, months of time where I couldn't zip my pants or tie my shoes because my hands were so swollen or my feet were from the lupus. And it really does. It does happen. You lose your spinal integrity, you lose your gut function, you lose immune system function. And, thank God, and thank the fact that I keep on top of it, I've been healthy. And I went back to racing on my bicycle, and I stopped for like 15 years. And when I went back, I was able to go into the same categories of racing, if cycling, Cat 3s, and I was racing Masters 1, 2, 3s, and I went back and I was winning, and I held, a national seat for like 14 months or so. And that really felt good. I knew I was stronger in my 40s after I fixed my spine than I was when I was 28, and it's amazing. I'm damn near 50. I'll be 49 in 2 weeks. And man, I'm like, it's not hard. It's really simple. So that's my chiropractic story. And then I can my other practices. I'm a bad businessman in that respect, man. I did it the wrong way. I tried to convert everybody over. You got to believe in this, you got to believe. And, they weren't buying it because I didn't know that you had to talk with them, patients. Why, what's in it for them? Why would they want to? Okay, that works for you. I don't know. Are they going to work for me? Thanks.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, and Prime Spine Consulting. Let's hustle. Well, you look great, brother, and thank you for sharing your testimony to people. I know it's going to touch some lives, and I'm always about getting into people's their ecosystems with your story, and I think that's one of the things that makes us so valuable for what we produce here. Is we do produce chiropractic stories over and over and over, and you know, it's a simple dynamic, but it's not a simple message.
No.
And it takes a long time to get mastery of a conversation on such a diverse topic. And, to hold this space over here and to get the trust of the chiropractor, to get the trust of the chiropractic profession at large. You asked me early on when we were just kind of chatting, like the why behind it. And I was like, well, I think everybody needs to understand chiropractic better. And you're like, well, I hear people telling the story, and I told the story, and I grew up this way. And I'm like, well, if we can just time capsule these stories and more people can hear your story and other practitioners' story, it cuts through the static and noise of disinformation and misinformation when it comes to understanding other ways of the medical world, which is really pharmacology. And I don't really want to jump down that hoop too far, but I do want to talk. But I do want to talk about community healthcare resources, the group that you've founded, and the non-for-profit work that you're doing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So let's dive into those topics.
Well, background wise, I'm fundamentally kind of an anarchist a little bit, not really. I mean, I should say I don't want no rules. I like rules. I'm more conservative. I just don't like the way things are running in some respects. And, it's really easy. It was easy for me when I heard that one of the guys that I take care of who works at the local hospital as a surge tech, how he had gone halfway through medical school, racked up a bunch of bills, student loans. And then he's working at the local hospital, and he told me he got his loans forgiven under the public service loan forgiveness program. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought you had to work for like the VA or like a nonprofit. And he's like, yeah, the hospital's a nonprofit. And I'm like, I got another patient, and I know that, and he's told me 60, and he does bankruptcy, 65+% of the people claiming bankruptcy in Scott County has that organization's name on it. Right. And I'm like, I complained about it. I was like, and we run an intern program here that, teaches people about CBP or how to do things so they can be useful. And we had some interns in, and I was like, man, this is a bunch of, excuse my language, bullshit. And one of the students is like, why don't you just quit complaining about it? Why don't you create a nonprofit that does something then? And I'm like,
so it's like, I don't like this game. I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to go start my own team.
Yeah. So I started digging in. I'm like, okay, I don't want to play ball where, I keep catching the wrong end of the stick in the head. So, and I thought, if it's possible for them, is it possible for us? If it's possible for the allopathy field, medical field to do that, is it possible for chiropractic? So I looked for other entities and things around there, and I really couldn't find anything. So I talked with my friends who were accountants and an attorney, and I'm like, hey, what do you think? Can we do this? And literally they were like, this sounds hokey. And I'm like, well, do you know much about nonprofit stuff? I said, I know the rules because I've read the PSLF program, public service loan forgiveness program. And I said, I know it's possible something's doing it. And they're like, well, you need to talk with somebody in that field. So they found me someone. And I said, this is what I want to do. I want to set up my own nonprofit that I can run for my wife, because my wife is graduating in February of this year and she gave me permission to do this. $342,000 worth of student loan debt. $342,000. And I went through school and it was 110, right? And we can thank the loan institutions and guaranteed loans and the fact that you can't get those forgiven, even if you die, even if you retire. they're going to take it out of your Medicare check for the increases in that, because it's a guaranteed fact they're going to raise prices. So what I did was I would talk with the nonprofit organization and said, this is what I want to do. And they're like, yeah, you can create that, but it's not going to last. You're going to create it. And the minute you get an audit, you're going to really realize you're not a nonprofit, because you're going to really be moving from all this chiropractic work to talking with the IRS doing audits. They're like, if you really look at it, you can't do that. So I set it aside for a little while. And then my wife now is a student at Palmer, and we got married, and like found out how much in loans she had. And I'm like, okay, we have to really diligently look and see, can we do this? Because how would we model it? How would we make it possible? So I contacted and I looked for really the largest companies, the ones that are established. And I found, and I called and I said, this is what I want to do. How much is it going to cost to create? What's the, viability of it? How do we make it run properly? And what they basically laid out was that we have to structure it. We had to structure it just like like the Salvation Army, the Goodwill, the United Way, as a parental organization. So once we learn that you set a parental organization, then you create sub chapters, just like your local Goodwill, right? That runs its own sub chapter, smaller entity, which then is under the umbrella, reports to. That's the way that it should be structured. So we're like, okay, we took approximately a year and a half to go through the filing for the IRS to get our 501c3 determination letter, which was appeal after appeal, and to present our modeling of how it works. And then we rested with the IRS to get our approval, is that it has to be kind of a quid pro quo. It's not like you were getting something for free, and a lot of people think, oh, this is just something that I could join and get my student loans erased. Now it's tit for tat. You deliver care to the public, about $500 worth of care, right, per month, for 10 years. And you let the doctor use space in your office. So it's the office space and the care that you give, plus a lecture once a month on any health topic that's free for the public. And those things aggregate together equals about the average doctor's, student loan payment. So what you're doing is you're doing 10 years of that. And by giving that 10 years of service to the public, it's about tantamount to the interest that you would pay. Now, I don't know about you, but I think as doctors, I'm a better fiduciary or steward of money or care, and I would rather give that to you or the people in my community than to a $1 trillion loan institution,
Mm-hmm.
So we modeled it so that really what we're doing is, rather than paying guaranteed federal loans to institutions, we're giving the care to the people. And $500 doesn't seem like a lot. But what we did was we argued the fact, if Dr. Jim takes care of one person with that $500 and that person stays working, the benefits to that guy's family are great because they've got a dad. He's able to be happy. That's great, fuzzies. And what we sold, or at least got approval for, was the fact that they stay working. They're still producing a taxable income, right, base for the IRS, and they're not a burden on the social infrastructure safety nets. So the value to the public is actually about 3 to 5 times whatever we produce as doctors. And, that's a great thing. And that said, being in the organization, a lot of people think, oh, I got to work for free or something. You don't. You actually get paid for doing it. You just have to ask people to help support your mission. And for us, we generate about $1,600 a month, and that's not a lot, right? But it pays my associate doctor, and we'll keep on generating it. It'll pay my wife to deliver some care and get paid a little bit, right, for what they would have given away for free. Because, man, we give away a lot in our clinic. We don't turn people away. And I have my office manager who sits right over here, around about the 20th of every month, will come and say, you cut off, man, you hit your limit, because I can't give away the house.
Mm-hmm.
So with community healthcare resources, we structured it so that it benefits the practitioner. And for me, like my return on it, I'm also creating a discount network for people. So we're negotiating with, digital marketing firms, with credit card companies that will give you a terminal that basically doesn't charge you, the doctor, for it, charges the card holder, which decreases overhead. And we're hoping to save people like 15% on malpractice insurance, business insurance. We're going to negotiate for disability insurance that's affordable for chiropractors, because we take in dentists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, medical practitioners. We're all aggregated in the same group, so we won't have the really high deductibles that chiropractors face. And that way, it kind of gives back. Right now, we're saving about $1,100 a month in our office. So that's kind of like the short-term, rewards for being in the organization, and for me, because my student loans are so low that it's not going to benefit me, But that's why we created it, was basically make it affordable. And you'd be surprised, man, how many, just like, I don't want to say horror stories, are like sad. Like, we'll get people and they've graduated, 20 or 30 years ago, and they may have come out with $140,000 in loans, but they've got a balance of like 280. Some people we talk, like the highest one I've ever heard was $630,000, man, that this person has in student loans, man. And we look at this, like, you guys listen to this, most are going to be doctors. The economic stress of that subconsciously in the back of your brain, yeah, you may be able to go to sleep for a minute, but the economic stress, how does it affect your central nervous system, your immune system?
You can never shut it off.
No. And so we wonder why chiropractors are dying at higher rates of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer than the general public, man.
Economic stress.
And here you go. How many people have to worry about, money to pay those loans, and they can't give away care because they can't afford to, because it's life and death. It's like literally affects every aspect of life.
So have you seen people graduating from this decade of servitude and non-for-profit work?
Here you go. This is a real dirty one, man. I tell you what, I'm a researcher. I'm a square. I like numbers and I like proof. And God, I trust. All else, you better have data, right? So when I started looking at this, I abandoned it in 2019. I abandoned it because there was no guarantee, and like 3% of the population who were applying were actually getting loan forgiveness. Luckily, and you can look this up on NPR. NPR has a really good story on it. Luckily, the federal government did an investigation in 2017, right? And the investigation showed that the student loan processing companies were misleading borrowers, telling them, oh, yeah, you qualify. It'll be fine. You're right on. And they knew exactly that they weren't. They just wanted to keep them from deferring or dispelling or retiring their loan so they could keep getting the interest. And they were doing training on it for their staff to mislead people. And so they did another investigation in 2020. Now, in 2020, early in 2020, what they said was, you guys are still doing it, the loan companies. You're still misleading people. Therefore, we are going to make you do this. And what they made them do is created a public service loan forgiveness tool. And you can go to studentaid.gov PSLF help tool. And on there, they now have a form that you can complete to ensure that you're actually moving towards loan forgiveness. And it's called the employment certification form. I wouldn't even be doing this if that guarantee wasn't there, because once you get your W-2, you just go, you fill out the form and it'll show you, okay, you made 12 payments last year. You got 10 of them that actually moved you towards loan forgiveness. 2 of them were, and then they'll let you know, you were late on one payment more than 10 days. You didn't make a full payment on the other payment. And there's like a laundry list of little rules that makes the opening for that very narrow, so that it basically makes it so that unless you are on time, you can't even be early. Literally, if you pay your student loans early, like I'm paid 3 months in advance in case my water heater breaks or something, none of my loans would apply because they're not current. I'm paid in advance. So I started digging in. I'm like, man, these are some convoluted rules. And I started digging in and seeing who is getting loan forgiveness. And really, there's like, about 5 hospitals. And I think what happened was about 5 large nonprofit hospitals basically wrote the legislation and they did the lobbying for it. And then they snuck it in like right before George Bush Jr. got out of office, and he passed it and signed it. And it's only really, it's those companies who knew the rules, who probably created them in the first place, who got that forgiveness. So knowing the rules, and I'm a rule guy, man. I hate losing on technicalities. And so we are digging into the rules and finding out why. So are there people, digressing back to the original question? Yes, there are. And there's a good number of them. And now we have even more people who are registering and getting proof that they're moving towards loan forgiveness with the certification form. So it's it's the only reason really that I started doing this. Otherwise it was a gamble, and I don't gamble.
Well, it's tremendous amount of information that you just shared with us for the chiropractic profession and for the medical profession at large. So really cool stuff. I know we didn't get into our whole question set with you, but maybe we could answer one of the big ones at the end of this is where do you see the chiropractic profession going in the next 20 years? And how do you see what you're doing with the loan forgiveness making an impact with that?
Oh, man. I graduated, 18% of the population was underneath chiropractic care nationally. It's at 11% now. Okay, there's life and death, man. It's black and white. We have to fight for the future of our profession. One, we need concerted efforts by chiropractors everywhere to be, one, successful, have disposable income, and then lobby, right? We all know I don't like politics, and you may not like politics, some may, but the fact of the matter is you can not like the system, but you're still part of it, and you must either operate within the bounds or choose to do something different. So for me, I look at this as a game changer. This is a leveler, right? We talk with medical practitioners coming in and interviewing with us to get a subchapter and become an employee of the organization. And these guys call up more than chiropractors do. And we ask them, how much do you make? Well, $450,000, right? Working for nonprofits. And it's not uncommon, $275,000, $350,000. And I'm like, just pay your loans off. You can give away care and be a part of our organization and still get benefits, but just pay your loans off. That's not going to work. Now, for us, when we help people and we deliver care and retire those loans early, if we're saving people on average around $250,000, you'll have a disposable income. And granted, you know what? Take a vacation on it. But really, your profession and the future health of the nation doesn't require. It demands that you actually put something back in, and we find a way to put our differences aside, whether we like technique A, technique B, whether our philosophy is biomechanical, whether our philosophy is mechanical, whether it's pain-based, whether it's philosophical, above, down, inside out. As a profession, we're all still chiropractors. We all have more in common than we have dissimilar. And we need to find that commonality and then fund legislation that levels the field. And that, I think, is going to really change the world. Not only will it change the world, it'll change people's lives, one person at a time. And, we may see that the struggle still continues. We know we're still getting called quacks. We know still there's slander everywhere. But it's, again, theory, and Jim Rohn said it, don't leave the field. The birds are going to come, and I could complain about the medical industries, slander, the quack watch, the, bad reimbursements. You know what? The most successful chiropractors out there don't deal with insurance. So I can't leave the field to chase the bird that stole the seed that I threw in the ground. I can't dam the wind, right? I have to stay in the field plowing. And so for me, I'm going to stay in the field plowing, helping people, one, understand how they can give to the community, stop funding $1 trillion loan sharking industry, how to get freedom economically. And then as time goes by, I hope that somebody comes along. And I don't know if I'm the best person. I don't think so. I know I'm not the best person. Somebody comes along and really unites the profession in a unified front to actually lobby, because that's the way things change. So, if we're willing to fight, and damn, I'm not dying, I got too much stuff to do. There's too much of a mission out there, because I look at it, Bob's kids, Bob's grandkids, they're not going to know why they're healthier. They're not going to know why they go to the chiropractor, right? That fourth generation. But what we're doing is this. If I save Bob doesn't end up like my dad. Okay. My dad worked his ass off, right? Busted his ass at a Ford dealership. On the weekends, he hustled and he saved money so that he could put something aside to save and give to me and my sister. But the minute that he went into an assisted living home, real simple, right? Diabetes, heart disease, obesity. Why? 40 years prior, we could have fixed it. He had pelvic unleveling, spinal degeneration, lost his hip replacement, then 40 pounds added on, then knee replacement, another 40 pounds. He's 80 pounds overweight, 57 years old, can't work, goes on SSI, sitting around, right? Sedentary lifestyles lead to heart disease, cancer, diabetes. And the minute that he went into assisted living, okay, they took everything. They took his savings, they took his house, they took his Medicare check, okay? And that's, the diabetes, heart disease, those things didn't kill him. It was knowing he worked his whole life and he had to give it to some people who didn't love him, didn't care about him. And, that's a crime. Now, if I could go back in time, I'd tell my dad, don't be my Boy Scout leader. Don't coach my softball team. Don't take me hunting, fix your damn hip, get a heel lift, repair your spine. My kids need to know who their grandfather is, not who you were. And so if I take care of 5 people like that through this system, right, just 5, then their kids don't have to worry because they didn't lose the resource their parents worked for, and they don't have to worry about paying for student loans. And if they save it, their kids don't have to worry about a mortgage. And if they save it, their great grandkids don't have to worry about working a job and being a slave to interest and payments and borrowing money. And if that happens, the next generation, they'll never even know. Chiropractic made me independently wealthy. See, we're all thinking that it's some back pain bullshit when in all actuality, we're fighting for the freedom of our future generations, man. And that's what I fight for. It gets me out of bed every morning and my feet hurt and I have polyarthritis. Man, shut up, Jay. Get on your feet and start marching because other families require you to do so. So from now until the day I die, that's what I'm fighting for. And if people want to join me on the mission, good. Come along, man. Is it going to be hard? Hell yeah. Crack the whip on you just as hard as I crap it on myself,
Well, we're at the edge of our time, brother. Where can I send people if they want to find out more about you, work with you, get into your systems, or have you as a guest on their show?
I'm a horrible businessman. I wasn't prepared for that. Let's see. I know that Gil, one of our friends, is running some stuff on Facebook, recruiting videos.
What website? Give me a website resource.
We'll give you an email, okay? Email jj@chr, that's Charlie Hector Roger 501.org if you're interested in finding out more. And what I'll do is I'll send you a link. There's an application process that people go through, and not everybody, it takes about $2,500 from the parent organization to start a subchapter for you guys. And that's something there's a limited resource to. So we really do diligently put you through kind of a ringer, vetting to see, okay, are you going to keep on time? Are you really serious about it? Are you going to give? Are you going to be a warrior for chiropractic and for the people who you're serving? And that's who we're investing in first. As time goes by, we'll be able to expand that as we get more resources. We're writing grants right now. So, yeah.
So to just let everybody know, email jj@chr501.org, and we can get you plugged into getting Jay on your show or getting more access to the programs that we've talked about on episode 328. Dr. J, we're both from the mean streets of Davenport, Iowa, and you are the chiropractor and I am the megaphone. And love and appreciate you, my friend, for sharing so much power. And thankful for the opportunity to have you on our show.
Hey, thankful for the opportunity of being out there, man. Because literally, it's hard getting the word out there, and I'm not the greatest businessman in the world. I need a lot of help with that and getting the word out there. It's yeah. Anyway, that's what we do, man.
Well, I value the relationship, and I look forward to growing with you on many different levels and supporting each other long term. So, have a great rest of your afternoon out there in beautiful Davenport, Iowa.
Yeah. Am I going to see you in Austin, man?
When's the next Austin deal?
Austin, man, we're Fred's down there the 14th, 15th, 16th, I think.
This month?
Yeah.
I haven't discussed with him on that topic, but let me put some feelers out there. But I love Austin. I might move there soon.
I tell you what, I was surprised that that's the first time I've ever been there, and like it was awesome.
Cool. Well, yeah, man. Appreciate you so much, and we'll get you on again.
Cool.
All right. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.